Nice to be together. Thanks for what you do. The two of you give us hope.
Leslie, you can go.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Leslie Dock. I want to welcome everyone
Leslie,
from
you can
around the
go.
country who's joined us tonight. Good evening, everyone. Kickoff. My name is Leslie Dock. Our Protect Our Care is a virtual bus tour. Good evening. Thank you very much. Your life, your vote. The next days, weeks are critically important for the future of this country. And I want to thank Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer for joining us tonight because they are the ones who have given us hope and continue to give us hope in these days. I also want to recognize Brad Woodhouse, the Executive Director of Protect Our Care, my colleague, who has spent his professional career fighting for progressive causes. We live in an America today, in Donald Trump's America, where over 195,000 Americans have died from COVID, including in my own family's, my sister's partner, who died in early March. We have 4% of the world's population and 21% of the world's deaths. My heart goes out to everyone who has suffered a loss. We have over 6.5 million cases of coronavirus here in the US. We learned this week from Bob Woodward's book that the president purposefully and willfully chose to lie to the American people so that he could put his personal political interests in front of the safety and health of Americans. That's unconscionable. He's failed in his single most important duty to America, and that's to protect us. Nearly 30 million Americans are collecting unemployment benefits as we speak tonight, and almost 13 million have lost their employer-sponsored insurance. Every parent who has a child going to school from PK through college worries and goes to sleep anxious. This is unacceptable. And meanwhile, in the middle of this pandemic, the president is in court trying to rip health insurance away from 23 million Americans and gut protections from 135 million Americans with a pre-existing condition, including many who now have one because of this pandemic that he has so woefully mismanaged. Meanwhile, Democrats in Congress have led the fight. They've led the fight to protect us from this virus. They've led the fight to protect our health care. And yet, President Trump and his enablers in the House and the Senate have chosen to stand idly by and cast blame rather than to serve the people who elected them. As I said, Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer, who give us all hope, we are counting on them to lead us forward. And we know in the next several months and beginning in January 2021, they will. And so now let me thank them again and turn this over to Brad Woodhouse.
Great. Leslie, thank you. And I think Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer know that you, Leslie, are the heart and soul of Protect Our Care. You look around the corners and you make sure that we're planning for all of the things that Republicans and President Trump might do to undermine American healthcare, and on the other side to protect and fight for American healthcare. So thank you. And Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, we've all been together many times talking about what is at stake in this election. I got to tell you, I'm really mad. I am really angry. I have not had a cycle in many election cycles where I didn't have a bus actually on the road. And here, because of President Trump and his failed response to coronavirus, we're taking the responsible action and doing a virtual bus tour. And of course, the advantage of that is geography will be no barrier to being able to go into every single place we need to reelect a House Democrat and add to the House majority. Geography won't be a barrier to us going to every single state where we need to defeat a Republican incumbent and make you, Leader Schumer, majority leader. So we're going to do it. We're not going to do the super spreading events that the president is doing, but we are going to bring this issue to the American people. We're starting in the 16 states that we are in, and it really encompasses the Senate battlegrounds, the presidential battlegrounds, the House defense battlegrounds. and we're so excited to do that and to bring that work to the American people. I find it interesting. We've got a lot to do here, and we a lot to accomplish. Speaker Pelosi, we need to reelect the Democrats that won and put you in the speakership in 2018. We need to widen that majority, and Senator Schumer, we need to make you Senate Majority Leader. So I want to start with you, Speaker Pelosi, because the House has had an advantage that Senator Schumer hadn't, and that is you've been able to pass things. And so you've got those bills to run on, in addition to the accountability of President Trump's failed response to coronavirus and his abdication of any responsibility for American healthcare. So I want to start with what you see at stake in this election, how House Democrats are going to run, and then Senator Schumer, we'll hear from you.
Thank you very much, Brad, and thank you so much for Leslie, to both of you, for Protect Our Care. You have been wonderful advocates in the country to protect, to pass legislation, and also to protect the care of the American people. So first, I want to thank both of you. Leslie, Doc, you have been just such an inspiration, and Brad, when he gives the marching instructions, we all just follow, because he not only has a vision that you share, he has a plan. And this is a really, I'm very proud of the work of the House Democrats and what we've done. I'm very proud of our Senate Democrats and how they've held the line on some of the things that the Republicans tried to do over there. But it's very important that we have a Democratic Senate. So thank you for the work you're doing to make Chuck Schumer the Senate leader, and of course to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, President and Vice President of the United States. Thanks for your help to increase our numbers in the House. What we were happy to do in the course of our majority, which you helped us to attain, was to pass legislation that would reinforce the Affordable Care Act in all of its protections. We also passed legislation in that vein, that HR 3, which would lower the cost of prescription drugs by enabling us to, the Secretary of HHS, to negotiate for lower prices. We went further with that in our ACA Enhancement Act to reinforce that and then improve on the Affordable Care Act. So we're ready for what comes next. All of this, just to important at any time, but in terms of the coronavirus, absolutely essential that we do what we're doing, and in doing so to protect Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and disabilities benefits of Social Security as well. So we are proud of the work that we have done. We again salute the outside mobilization, of which you are a major part, because we couldn't have done any of it without you. We and Chuck and I can do our inside maneuvering within our own bodies, but the outside mobilization is absolutely essential to our success. So I'm here to salute Protect Our Care, to make sure that we defeat what the president is trying to do. Instead of crushing the virus, he's trying to crush the Affordable Care Act. And we're going to make sure that he does not do that, that we preserve the benefit of the ban on annual and lifetime limits on the care, that we preserve the pre-existing condition benefit that he's in court to try to overturn. Being a woman is no longer a pre-existing condition, protecting so many people, our young people, that can stay on their parents' insurance until age 26. So again, guaranteed and free essential benefits, benefit for a pre-existing condition benefit. The list goes on and on. I mentioned that over and over because it affects like 150 million American families. So this election is essential. That is what is at stake in the election. I thank Protect Our Care for the inspiration that you are, for the intellectual resource that you are, and now the political mobilizing that you'll be doing virtually on your bus. My honor to be with you and to be with Senator Schumer.
Great. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi. And I know you know that we refer to you as Speaker ACA, and of course appreciate all that you did to get it passed, because what it took to get it passed is part of the history that we can never, ever forget. And just remember that no Republicans were with us. They haven't been with us. But in that vein, Senator Schumer, I think one of the most interesting things in this election is that you have Republicans on the run. They are, I mean, all of a sudden they're oh, well, we want to support pre-existing condition protections. We always have, we want to do something on prescription drugs. We always have. But in the 6-for-06, when the bill came up in the to allow the secretary to negotiate for lower prescription drug prices, when it came up in the Senate in 2007, what did the Republicans do? Every one of them virtually filibustered that bill. What did they do? They tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act that has protections for pre-existing conditions. But now Cory Gardner and Tom Tillis and Martha McSally, who's going to be a failed Senate candidate 2 cycles in a row, all of them are on the run because of the work that you have done. Senator, you're muted right now.
Thank you so much, Brad. We love the work Protect Our Care does. You and Leslie do an amazingly great job. And it is a virtual bus, but the virtual wheels of the healthcare bus still go round and round and round. And they're going to keep going round until we take back the Senate, increase our margin in the House, and provide really good healthcare, even better healthcare for the American people. We're not going to stop. And so much is at stake. But what you said is exactly right. These Republican senators are the greatest hypocrites around. All of a sudden, they say they're fighting to protect pre-existing conditions. Not one of them, when Donald Trump, their president, filed a lawsuit to undo all of the protections that people have, not one made a peep. When we asked to put legislation on the floor to negotiate Medicare drug prices, one of the most important things we could do to lower prices, not one of them makes a peep. All of a sudden, in their commercials, they're saying they want to help lower drug prices. All of a sudden, in their commercials, they say they want to protect pre-existing conditions. They just are making it up. I haven't heard a peep out of them, not a single thing. And by the way, there is some justice here. As your bus goes through these 16 states, you will find in every one of them, the number one issue affecting healthcare, affecting elections is healthcare. And the public believes strongly that we Democrats and our great Senate Democratic candidates in so many states are there to protect people's health care, expand people's health care, lower the costs of prescription drugs. And the Republicans are standing in the way. In fact, it's the number one issue helping us. We're ahead in a whole lot of Senate races now. A lot of incumbents look like they're going down, down, down. And the number one reason is health care. So congressional Republicans, they've been trying to paper mache over reality to cover up the fact that A, Donald Trump has failed at protecting us in COVID-19, but B, even long before this evil COVID-19 came along, they were doing nothing to help people with their number one worry and fear, that they wouldn't be able to afford health care for themselves or their loved one. And what is more important than health and life itself? So Donald Trump has spent 4 years attacking Americans' health care, siding with the big special interests, not doing anything. And these Republican senators, at best, do nothing to stop him, and at worst, aid and abet him. And most of them are aiders and abettors. The Trump administration's sabotage of healthcare has the support, loud and tacit, of all of them. And by the way, when Speaker Pelosi has sent us over great bills, some of them passed with bipartisan votes, what does the majority leader, who they all vote for, do? He puts them in the legislative graveyard. We call him the Grim Reaper. And he sort of stands there with his scythe and his hood. And he says, I'm not letting anything pass. And they won't put a single bill on the floor. There are 380 bills that McConnell and Senate Republicans have refused to bring up for a vote, 80% of which is bipartisan. So I'd say to the people who are going to watch this bus tour, this virtual bus tour, there is a whole lot at stake. You're watching, so you're interested. But please, your family, your friends, your relatives, people who you work in a professional way with, please make sure they vote. Please make sure they turn out. We will win if people understand that they can make a difference. And they can. In this election, they can truly make a difference. So we are ready to fight the fight for you. If Joe Biden becomes president, if Kamala Harris becomes vice president, if I become Senate Majority Leader, and if Speaker Pelosi remains even a strengthened Speaker Pelosi, as strong as she is now, even more is possible, we can get some real things done for you. This election matters. LeBron James, I think, has a group that called it Vote and More, something to that effect. And that's the point. Don't just vote to vote. Vote because it's going to help you. Vote because it's going to make your health care better. Vote because you'll be able to keep some money in your pocket and spend it on other things because the government will do more for you in terms of health care. This is so important. So let's get those wheels turning. Let's get those votes rolling. Let's win this election, and then let's do our job and protect people in their need for affordable health care.
Great. Thank you, Senator. And I want to reflect or amplify what Speaker Pelosi said, because your caucus, without the ability to put bills on the floor, and with Senator McConnell shoving everything into the legislative graveyard, y'all have still held their feet to the fire. And you've got a great bunch of leaders doing that. Senator Durbin, Senator Wyden, Senator Murray. You can just go down the list. Senator Stabenow, Senator Murphy.
I have to say this, Brad. In our caucus, there's great unity.
Yeah,
there's little
terrific
division. Everyone wants to expand healthcare, make it cost less, bring down the cost of prescription drugs. That's virtually universal in our caucus.
And
all we need is 51 votes, or even some more than that.
Yeah, and I really feel there are states on the Senate side, and I know that there are House races that are coming onto the map for us as a result of both the president's failed response to coronavirus and the issue of healthcare and the future of healthcare in selection. I mean, we've got a Senate, maybe has a Senate race in Alaska. We may have a Senate race in Kansas.
We got a guy who killed a grizzly bear. How are you going to vote against him?
Yeah. And I think, you know, a lot of people would have said after 2018, well, Speaker Pelosi, you may remain Speaker in the next Congress, but certainly that majority is going to shrink. But we're on the road, red to blue, as the DCCC says, red to blue. Before we take some questions that have been submitted from some of our activists that are going to be participating in this tour, I mean, we've talked about how much work the House has done and how the Senate is moving in our direction. Could each of you just reflect a little bit on what Joe Biden brings to this? I mean, I think y'all have heard his story, his personal story. He was there. He said it was a BFD. Speaker Pelosi, can we start with you?
Oh, yes. Well, we were all there that
she
day.
wouldn't use those words, Brad. She never says anything.
That's why I use the initials.
We have a kind of a thing going back and forth about acceptable language, but it really was just exactly that. And the spontaneity with what the vice president said it that day was an exuberance that we all shared. Let me just say, this is a kitchen table issue. And Joe Biden is a kitchen table guy. It's how he was raised. It's the community he identifies with, and he understands. Health is essential to people's well-being. We all know that. But financial health is related to personal health as well. So this is a priority for him, and that's why he had an appreciation for what the Affordable Care Act was about. I ask people in this election, vote for yourself. We want you to vote Democratic, of course. And we want you to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and your senator and the House members and local and governors, et cetera. But vote for yourself. If you have any concerns about the health and well-being of your family, if you have any concerns about what that means to your financial health, because many families go bankrupt because of financial responsibilities related to health care. So this is about you. This is about you. And it's the 1, 2, 3 most important issues in the country. Healthcare, healthcare, healthcare. even before coronavirus. That was the case last year, 2 years ago. And now with coronavirus, even more so. So again, choose yourself over those who might try to mislead you about this. Choose yourself in terms of your financial well-being as well as the health of your family, because they are connected. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity it presents when people come. We'll put all the ideas on the table, develop the most comprehensive, fairest, most accessible, quality, cost-effective legislation to take us into the future.
So let me pose just quickly a couple of questions from the people who are out there in the countryside who are gonna be part of this tour and helping us win the Senate majority, hold the House majority.
They're gonna virtually wave as our virtual bus passes by.
That's exactly right. So we have Abby Fuchsman, a cancer survivor from Georgia, asked a question that I think we need to keep elevating here. And Senator Pelosi, if you want to go first, and then Senator Schumer, if the Supreme Court finds the ACA cannot stand as it's currently stated, how will Congress protect people with pre-existing conditions, particularly those that now have a pre-existing condition related to a COVID diagnosis?
Well, since I went first before, I'm pleased to yield to the.
Okay, go ahead, Senator Schumer.
Thank you. Well, the bottom line is very simple. And that is, if some reason, and they try, the right wing and the people who want to take away your health care, their view is they got all the money they need. They don't want to pay a nickel of taxes to help anybody else with the basic needs of humankind, health at the top of the list. So they go into court and they make these lawsuits, and they're often able to pick a court that's a more friendly forum. If for some reason the court would make a backward decision and take this away, the reason they do it is they say, well, you got to change the statute. You just got to change the law. This is not a constitutional issue or something like that. Speaker Pelosi has already passed legislation that would enshrine that law. If Mitch McConnell stays leader and every one of these Republican senators votes for him, then we won't change the law. But if I become leader, we will change the law just the way the House has. And so we will restore pre-existing conditions, whether those conditions affected you with COVID or with anything else. I mean, how can these Republican senators keep doing what they're doing? What do they tell a mom who learns that her son or her daughter has cancer, and the hospital and the insurance company cuts you off because that's a pre-existing condition? You can't get insurance, and you watch your child in agony, and you do everything you can. You mortgage your home, you sell your car, you take 3 jobs. How can they do this? How can they do this? But they do, and McConnell leads the pack, and they all do it with him. Well, we get in the majority. No court decision is going to stop us from making sure that pre-existing conditions are protected. Your protections are kept.
And Speaker Pelosi, to this question of the lawsuit, which is going to be taken up 1 week to the day after we cast votes on November 3rd, can you talk a little bit about what is at stake in that lawsuit and the future of the ACA as it relates to women? As you mentioned, the law said that being a woman is no longer a pre-existing condition. But if the ACA goes away, what's at stake for women?
Well, there's so much at stake for women, but as members of families, as moms, as grandmoms, as again, part of our society and our economy. Let me just say this. When we did this bill before, we were subjected to judicial review and we prevailed. I didn't like the provision that they had in there about Medicaid, but nonetheless, the Affordable Care Act was declared constitutional. What the Republicans did a couple years ago in their tax scam, where they gave 83% of the benefits to the top 1%, they also took out the individual responsibility piece of it. And you know that. And that was what they did that for a reason, because they thought if we take it to the Supreme Court again, that individual mandate isn't in the bill. And that was a basis of some of the constitutionality. Because when we wrote the bill, we made it ironclad constitutionally. We knew what we were up against. But when they took that out, they changed the dynamic, and they took it out for a reason, not because they didn't think people should be individually responsible. Maybe they didn't, but they took it out so that it would weaken our hand in court. So whatever they decide, we will be there to write the bill that once again restores the individual mandate, which is essential to the constitutionality of the legislation. But as the leader said, it was also about restoring the pre-existing condition. And the other piece of it that is so vital is the lifetime and annual limits that are placed on families with who are either diagnosed or have ongoing physical challenges. So we'll be ready for them, and we would hope that we would win in the court again because of what it means to the American people. But the president has packed the court with people who don't believe in science and don't believe in governance. So if you don't believe in science and the need for there to be preventive care, which we have in the bill and all the rest of it, and you don't believe in governance to do something about that, then you make a different decision. But we'll be ready. But that's why I say to the American people, your health is riding on a Democratic Senate. Your health is riding on a Democratic Senate. It will make all the difference in the world. Otherwise, this will be a spiral downward in terms of the health and well-being, as well as the financial health of America's working families.
Well, Speaker Pelosi, that is why we entitled this tour, Your Health, Your Vote, because it is just that important. Well, look, I want to thank both of you for being with us. As you know, we have had your back. We have ever since the effort to try to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We will continue to have your back. We'll have your back in the next few weeks as we try to get some more relief out to the American people, which Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell don't want to do. And we will be on the road in support of an expanded House majority and Senator Schumer making you Senate Majority Leader. So with that, we're going to close this call. And thanks everybody for watching. Sorry we couldn't get to everyone's questions, but we're doing these Zooms around the country, so tune in. We start tomorrow in Pennsylvania.
Thank you for sending Adam Hoyer to our regular weekly meetings with all this. And I just want to say one more thing. Go to iwillvote.com. And we don't hear people to go to iwillvote.com and tell your friends to do that too. It will show them how they can vote remote, by mail, in person, if they're registered, and the rest.
One more point, Nance. If you live in a state where there's no Senate up this year, or the senators are Democratic, you have friends, you have relatives, you have family, you have businesses and professional associates in states with Republican senators who are up for election, please call them, tell them to make sure they vote as well. This can be a national issue. And if you live in, say, New York or California with 2 Democratic senators, you still want better health care. There's something you can do about it. Call up your friend or relative in Arizona. Call up your friend or relative in South Carolina and tell them, make sure they vote Democratic for the sake of the health care and so many other things for the American people.
God bless America. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And your health, your vote. We're on the road. We've got your back, and we will see you down the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the good work.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.